Now, also, let's talk about the murder of a student at the University of Georgia. The immigration status of the person accused is really significant here. But this story, this is one of those ones that's starting to get a bit of wall-to-wall coverage, and people are desperately interested in every detail. For those of us in Australia that aren't across it, what's happened?
A young woman, 22 years old, named Laken Riley, who was at the University of Georgia nursing school, was murdered in broad daylight. She went for a run between the hours of 9 a.m. and noon or 1 p.m. and was attacked, brutally attacked for the fun of it, is how it looks, by an illegal immigrant. No murders on this campus in 30 years. What changed? Our open border. That's what changed. This guy came in, we now know, in 2022 under Joe Biden's presidency, came right across the border claiming he needed asylum from Venezuela. And he happened to have a wife. And so, boy, you could have a wife. They're never going to track you down. They're not even tracking down the single men who are of fighting age, which this guy is. But he has a wife, and they were going to seek asylum because Venezuela is so hard, and they didn't want to be there. And what they decided to do was take the life of this young woman after he committed at least 2 other crimes. But he wasn't deported. He was set loose by, I think it was the NYPD, before ICE could even slap a detainer on him. Not that the NYPD would have responded to it, because New York is a sanctuary city. So they don't cooperate with the federal immigration authorities who say, hey, hold him till we can get him and deport him, which they never really say anyway, because we're not deporting people. But in any event, it was a failure of this young woman by virtually every government authority that there is. And it's just time for this to stop. I'm sick. I've covered so many young women of this age who wind up murdered by illegal immigrants. Kate Steinle out in San Francisco, Molly Tibbetts in the Midwest, and now Laken Riley here. These are all similarly aged girls who get attacked out of nowhere or shot dead out of nowhere by someone who had no business being here and whose presence we ignored and felonies we ignored, sometimes deported multiple times, 5 times in the case of the one woman, Kate Steinle. And every time we say, it's sad, but really can't change policy in response to this one crime or these 2 crimes or these 3, and on it goes.
Now, we famously had a conversation on your show about Australia's attitude towards illegal immigration. It took reporters a few days to work out that we had that conversation, but it made big news because you were impressed with the Australian situation, which is if you come here illegally, sorry, bugger off. We're going to send you off to a third country, hopefully send you back to the country of whence you came. I think that most Americans would agree with that, and obviously we're an island, it's different, but if you make it across the southern border, then you should be detained. If you make it into a city, you shouldn't be hidden by sanctuary cities. And I think that the politics has absolutely turned here from what was accused of racism under Trump is now what people demand under Biden, even though he's seeking credit for a fire that he started.
I think you're right. I really see the numbers changing. This is becoming one of the most important issues to Democrats, which we've never seen before, not in recent history anyway. And there's a reason Joe Biden and Donald Trump on Wednesday are both going to the southern border, about 300 miles apart, but they're both going to the southern border. And this is, the same administration that told us there's no problem at the border. The border's closed. The border's secure. And now President Biden has to go down personally because he realizes his reelection is definitely on the line over this issue. I mean, he will be bounced out of office if these numbers continue. And really, honestly, at this point, even if they don't, people know he can try to look like he cares. He can try to look like it was the Republicans who scuttled that bill because they don't care about the border. People know the truth. You look back under Trump in 2020, we had 400,000 people cross the southern border, which is 400,000 too many. But this past year, we've had 3 million under Joe Biden. There's been almost no attempt at enforcement. They're coming into the country with fentanyl, drugs, with young women who are being raped and exploited by the coyotes and the drug cartels, and they're murdering our people. This woman was a 22-year-old healthy woman out for a jog, staying healthy so she could become a nurse and take care of others. Universally praised as a lovely, delightful, kind, and loving person, cut down in the prime of her life by this loser, derelict criminal who we rolled out the red carpet for to come into this country. I'm sure we're going to hear stories about us giving him a hotel and food stamps and probably a plane ticket to wherever he wanted to go. And for what? So he could murder our most promising, our best and our brightest. And what's the accountability? Who cares? if he goes to prison. I don't even care. I want him out. I want them all out. I want them to get back to their own countries and they can terrorize the people of Venezuela instead of the United States, where we used to be a country of law and order.